She had tried everything. Vision boards. When we did us affirmations 3 times a day. She wrote intentions in gold ink, filled gratitude, journals. Every morning, memorized scripting techniques from half a dozen manifestation coaches. And still, nothing. The relationship didn't shift. The money didn't come. Her energy felt stuck. Not just stuck, hollow. Then, one ordinary afternoon, something happened. She was walking through the park with no plan, no mantra, no background affirmations. Just a quiet, almost numb kind of peace. And in that stillness, she looked up. And it felt like the entire field around her shifted. A thought arrived, not from her mind, but through her. You've been trying to manifest from the frequency of not having. It hit her like a wave. Every affirmation she'd repeated carried an undertone of urgency. Every vision board had whispered, "You're not there yet." Every intention had been born from separation, embodiment. That was the day she stopped trying, and things started showing up. This isn't just her story, it's a quantum principle most people, even devoted spiritual practitioners, overlook. The field doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your energetic clarity. And most people are radiating chaos, not clarity. We've been taught manifestation is complex, full of techniques, mental rehearsals. Daily tracking. But what if that noise is the very reason your reality hasn't shifted? What if the real power lies in us, simplicity? Sages, mystics, and even quantum physicists point toward the same truth. The observer collapses, reality not by controlling it, but by becoming still, enough to align with it. But here's the trap. Most people don't practice stillness. They practice obsession. They want it so badly their field becomes distorted, minds filled with strategy. Hearts filled with doubt, frequency fogged. And the quantum field mirrors back that fog. This is the paradox. The harder you try to manifest, the further it slips away. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because the effort itself declares, "I don't have it yet." And in the quantum realm, that becomes your reality. The woman didn't manifest because she gave up. She manifested because she stopped vibrating effort and started vibrating space. The universe can't resist a coherent field. So we're not here to add more techniques. We're here to dismantle the complexity. Because simplicity requires trust. And trust is the real spiritual initiation. Why does simplicity work? Because most people aren't seeking alignment, they're seeking control. And control is the opposite of alignment. In quantum mechanics, reality doesn't pre-exist in a fixed form. It exists as probabilities, possibilities, until something collapses the wave function. That something is consciousness, the observer, you. But here's what's often missed. It's not intention alone that collapses the wave. It's the state of coherence behind it. Imagine tuning a radio. You're searching for one station, but your hand keeps drifting across the dial, static. Half music, interference. That's what most people are doing vibrationally, asking for clarity while broadcasting confusion, wanting love, while vibrating unworthiness, wanting money while fearing lack, wanting peace while overthinking outcomes. The quantum field doesn't speak English, affirmations, or vision boards. It speaks vibration. And for your reality to shift, that vibration must be stable enough to register. This is why manifestation becomes so much simpler and far more powerful when you remove the layers of trying, forcing, and controlling. Because in that stillness, the signal sharpens, the emotion steadies, and the intention becomes clean. In quantum physics, there's a concept called quantum decoherence. It's the loss of coherence in a quantum system, when it becomes entangled with too many external variables, losing its unified state. Spiritually, you are a quantum system, your energy, your field, your emotional state. But when you entangle yourself with doubt, comparison, overanalysis, or the need for external validation, you lose coherence. You lose the energetic clarity that collapses reality in your favor. This is why people who manifest easily appear effortless. They're not careless, they're clear. They've stopped trying to manipulate the outcome and have instead become the embodiment of it. They live in a state that says it's done, not just in words, but in vibration. Simplicity is your superpower. When you remove mental clutter and emotional chaos, you give the field a clean template to reflect. You become a strong transmitter and a clean receiver. Manifestation stops being a mystery and starts becoming a mirror. And here's what's fascinating. When your inner world simplifies, your outer world accelerates. Less resistance in the field, less drag, fewer competing signals. David Bohm, a pioneer in quantum theory, described the universe not as separate parts, but as a unified, implicate order, a field of infinite information folded within itself. Your thoughts, feelings, and frequencies unfold into this field, shaping the reality it reflects back to you. So the question becomes, are you unfolding complication or coherence? Noise or neutrality? Effort or energetic? Clarity? Most of us have been programmed to believe that success, healing, and love must come through struggle, evidence, and proof. The programming runs so deep that when someone says it can be simple, the mind resists. Why? Because simplicity threatens the ego's identity. If it's simple, maybe I've been overcomplicating it because deep down, I still believe my worth is tied to effort. But simplicity isn't a shortcut. It's a return to your natural frequency. When you return to that uncluttered, unattached, unbothered state, the universe doesn't need to be convinced. It simply aligns. Now, here's the trap most people fall into. Wanting. Wanting feels innocent. It sounds like desire. But vibrationally, they are worlds apart. Desire comes from expansion. This would be beautiful to experience. Wanting comes from lack. I need this or I'm not okay. The quantum field reflects your dominant frequency, not your words. And when your energy says it's not here, the field responds in perfect agreement. Correct, it's not here. In quantum terms, all possibilities, wealthy, healed in love, already exist. You don't chase them. You tune into them. You collapse them into reality through vibrational alignment. And that alignment is achieved through identity, not force. When you're in wanting, you identify as someone who lacks. When you shift into being, the you who already knows, already feels, already is, you collapse the timeline effortlessly. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And here's the twist. This shift can't be faked. You can't mentally say, and I already will have it, while emotionally vibrating urgency or doubt. The field doesn't read your words, it reads your coherence. That's why simplicity works. When you drop the charge of wanting, you open the space to receive. The people who manifest easily aren't tracking signs every hour. They're living, trusting, allowing. They've released the tension of needing and in doing, so their field becomes magnetic. Wanting contracts your field. It says, I am in kombucha. Complete. Being expands your field. It says, I already carry it within me. And the field mirrors that back every time. So how do you make the shift? Not by doing more, but by reorienting your identity. You stop trying to become the person who has the thing. You begin being the person who wouldn't even question having it. You stop asking, how do I get there? And start feeling I already live there. You visualize not to make it happen, but to stabilize your resonance. You affirm not because you doubt, but because it's already done. This shift is internal, quiet, and often invisible to others, but your field feels it instantly. If you want, I can now rewrite the next part so it flows seamlessly from here into the practical application of shifting from wanting to being. So you have a continuous, polished script for your US audience. And this is where the deeper work begins, because simplicity isn't a technique, it's a dismantling. It's the gentle but radical unlearning of the belief that more effort means more results. When you strip away the rituals you've been performing out of fear, when you drop the mental checklists and the constant energetic, am I there yet? You start to feel something most people avoid, stillness. And stillness can be confronting, because in that quiet, there's nothing left to hide behind. Here's the paradox most never see. The very complexity you think is helping you stay on track is often the exact thing keeping your field noisy. You've been conditioned to seek safety in movement, in always doing something, in managing, tweaking, improvising. But the quantum field doesn't respond to activity, responds to stability. And stability is born in the identity that no longer doubts its own frequency. So how do you stay in this frequency without obsessively checking for signs or results? You turn simplicity into a baseline, not a momentary high. That means micro check-ins. Marathon rituals. 3 breaths in the middle of your workday and into your heart, whispering your chosen frequency until your body remembers. Pattern interruptions. The moment urgency tries to sneak back in. Instead of fixing or figuring out, you pause, smile, and choose coherence over control. Environmental alignment. So your space reinforces your signal. The music, scents, lighting, and people you keep close should echo your chosen state, not test it. And then, something subtle happens. You stop holding the vibration like it's fragile. You start living it like it's inevitable. Your nervous system relaxes. Your body feels safe in stillness. The ego stops panicking in the absence of proof. And that's when the field begins to move faster, not because you chased, but because you became unshakable. Because to return to simplicity, you must release the identity that feels powerful in complexity, the overthinker, the spiritual doer, the one obsessed with getting it right. And here's the liberation. Once you let go of the identity addicted to trying, you become available to receive timelines you could never force into being. The version of you who already has what you want isn't stressing over how to get there. She's already there. She doesn't scan for signs every hour. She doesn't pray from panic. She doesn't perform for the universe like it's an algorithm to be hacked. She wakes up radiating coherence. That's who you are becoming and who you've always been, beneath the noise. So how do you hold that frequency without slipping back into control? You master the art of emotional neutralization. This isn't about going numb. It's about staying available to feel without being ruled by feeling. When doubt shows up, you witness it without attachment. When the urge to check or fix arises, you pause and breathe. You begin living from what Dr. Joe Dispenza calls the memory of your future, emotionally anchored in the knowing that it's already done. Your emotional state becomes your signature, not your thoughts, not your words, but your state. Because the field doesn't respond to what you're doing, it responds to what you're being while you do it. And being is not a performance, it's a return to your original frequency before you learned to force, chase, or earn worth. Now that you're clearing the static, your field is opening. And as it opens, reality begins to shift naturally. The key to sustaining this isn't effort, it's presence. Detachment isn't about not caring. It's about caring so deeply that you trust the field to deliver in ways your mind could never plan. When you release the belief that it has to be hard, what was stuck begins to move. What felt far comes close. And what you once chased begins to chase you. You've unlearned the noise. You've remembered the simplicity. You've felt the shift, not from force, but from allowing. The answer isn't to fight the pull of old patterns, it's to return again and again to the frequency of your higher knowing. Manifestation is not magic, it's resonance. And resonance isn't created by effort, but by consistency. Consistency and presence, in emotion and in identity. You're not here to manipulate outcomes. You're here to embody the outcome already lived. In quantum terms, you choose your timeline, not with actions, but with your vibrational signature. Your emotional default, your energetic posture, the signal. You radiate even in silence. Tools, scripts, and techniques mean nothing if your virtuoso identity is still anchored in lack. The practice is simple. Let it be simple. Let it be clear. Let it be done. When you stop questioning if it's coming, stop asking when it will show up, and no longer vibrate as someone who needs, the field collapses into form. The field doesn't follow your timeline. It follows your frequency. And your frequency stabilizes the moment you stop needing proof. Walk through your day, letting your energy speak louder than words. Let your presence transmit coherence. Let your posture carry the vibration of someone who no longer doubts, because the field cannot resist congruence. When thought, emotion, and embodiment align, you become magnetic to everything you once chased. And here's the paradox. The moment you no longer need, it is the moment you collapse into the reality where it already exists. Needing is a frequency. Having is a state. You don't need to convince the universe, you need to convince your nervous system. Let it feel what it's like to have nothing missing. Let it anchor into the emotion of already. Let it soften into the simplicity of being. That's the shift. That's the magic. That's the science of manifestation. At the quantum level, you collapse reality not by pushing, but by becoming the version of you who never had to push in the first place. And now that you've remembered this truth, the field has already changed. It's listening, It's arranging. It's reflecting. If something in you felt relief, clarity, or knowing, let that become your baseline. And if you want to expand this field with us, not just as content, but as resonance, community, and activation, subscribe. Not to consume more, but to become more. Because this space is not about followers, it's about frequency. If you're still here, you're not here by accident. You're remembering what your soul never forgot. It was never supposed to be hard. It was always supposed to be aligned. And alignment is simpler than you think.